Well, I guess I'll start with the program here, folks. Hi, everyone. I am Casey Satteray. I'm the Donor Stewardship Coordinator and Social Media Coordinator at Washington's National Park Fund. It is my pleasure to moderate today's trip to North Cascades National Park. It is so good to see some familiar names, like I said, and I also want to welcome our new attendees. You are all in for a treat today. So first, I'd love to tell you a little bit about our organization. Washington's National Park Fund, or WNPF, is the official philanthropic partner for Mount Rainier, North Cascades, and Olympic National Parks. Our 6-person staff and 23-person board of directors work hard to support the parks in so many ways. We're fortunate to have some strong engagement with the parks and their superintendents as we work to fund many projects every year, today's project being one of them. Through all of this work, our vision is to see that our parks are strong and vibrant, youthful and everlasting. Now, before we start, there are a few housekeeping items. This trip is 45 minutes long with a 30-minute presentation from our speakers and a Q&A at the end. Feel free to enter any questions in the box as we go. It has closed captions available, which you can access at the bottom. And we welcome any feedback as we work to make these trips as accessible as possible. All right, so who is ready to board the virtual bus? Unlike our usual programming, we have 2 speakers today. So let's head over to the North Cascades and hear from Rangers Anna and Katie. Anna Vornholt is a park guide at North Cascades National Park. She's from Atlanta, Georgia originally, and has been working with the National Park Service for 9 years in parks all over the country, including Utah, Maine, Alaska, Montana, and Wyoming. But of course, North Cascades is her favorite. Anna has been at the park for 2.5 years, and she's been drawn to this park because of its rugged nature and unsurpassed wilderness. Katie Wood has been a park ranger for the National Park Service for over 10 years, working in education and interpretation with a special interest in the critical partnerships that support visitor services in the parks where she's worked. Originally from Arizona, she's worked at North Cascades since 2017 and loves to garden, walk her dog, and spend time with her husband outdoors when not in the park. I'm sure many of us are so excited to learn more from both of you. So Anna and Katie, take it away.
Excellent. Well, we are very excited to take you on our field trip here today. We'd like to share with you the food sustainability and native plant education project that we've been working on thanks to generous support from donors to this project. So this program is, I apologize for a technical error here. I think I shared the wrong screen. So while I realize this is not written as a SMART goal with measurable achievements, we wanted to provide this statement in here so we could share with everybody the 4 main facets or focus areas of the program, which include outdoor experiences for students and community members, and that includes place-based learning, focused on bringing people to the park and helping them understand the significance of our national parks, native plant education, and then food sustainability for students and their community, which includes our tribal communities. So where we began this program was in one of our important gateway communities, and that is in the community of Darrington, Washington. It's a town just to the southwest of the park. And as you can see here on our map, it's even included on our park map that visitors receive. It is that near to the park boundaries and where we're located. So we really want to ensure that students that live in these areas, as well as their families and our tribal partners and communities nearby, know that this is a national park and the great things that it has to offer. This project has been possible with work through some additional partners that have supported it. And so Anna is going to share just a little bit about who we're working with so we can start sharing with you what it is that we're accomplishing.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, I think one of the really exciting things about this program is that we aren't doing it alone, and we do have some really great community partners. We're working with Glacier Peak Institute, or GPI, which is an organization based in Darrington, and their mission is to empower youth to build resilient and sustainable rural communities and healthy ecosystems across the Glacier Peak region of Western Washington through innovative, action-based education programs integrating science, technology, recreation, engineering, art, mathematics, and skill building. GPI has really been doing fantastic work in the community and in the school for many years, and we are really excited to work with them and get to draw on their extensive knowledge of the community for this project. We've also been working with the Darrington School District. Specifically, we've been working with the elementary school and the 5th grade teachers there and the high school and 2 of the science teachers in the high school. And it's really great for this program that we have such investment from the school and the teachers and the principals. I think that really speaks to the potential for longevity for this program. We're also working with the Sauk-Suiattle Indian Tribe, whose homelands include the entire drainage area of the Sauk, Suiattle, and Cascade rivers. And they are obviously very closely tied to what is now North Cascades National Park Service Complex. And we are really looking forward to building on this relationship with the Sauk-Suiattle and finding ways that we can continue to meet community goals through this project. And of course, there's us, the North Cascades National Park Service Complex. In addition to our interpretation and education staff, like myself and Katie, we've also worked with the staff from our native plant nursery in the park. And they really are just an invaluable source of knowledge for native plants. And again, we're looking forward to continuing to work with them as these projects move forward.
So how this came about was through some identified needs in the local communities and in the park. Neither Anna or I can take credit for originally putting this kind of complex project together. Our coworker and colleague who is now in the Southeast region and is on this call, Jessica Epperson, shout out to her, was the one that came up with some of these help to compile these different community needs into one comprehensive project. So to kind of summarize what it is that we are doing, I put things into kind of 2 camps here. On the left, we have our food sustainability piece. For that, we are primarily working with 5th grade students and the Sauk-Suiattle tribe. We had the identified needs of getting students more involved with their school greenhouse. That was identified by both Glacier Peak Institute and teachers at the local school there as a need. But it did need some repairs and improvements. So that was one piece, and Anna will bring you up to speed on what's happened with that to date. We've also been working to increase food sustainability in the community and for our tribal partners. So that kind of goes hand in hand, bring the greenhouse up to speed and construct some garden beds. And then we've got space to start working on these food sustainability needs and teaching students how to grow plants from seeds, grow food crops from seeds. And then overall, to strengthen community partnerships, we were able to bring all of those partners that Anna just mentioned together to work on this. We also wanted to, of course, as the National Park Service, we wanted to demonstrate the inherent value in our park resources as an outdoor classroom and also as an opportunity to better connect with this idea of stewardship, stewarding these lands. Part of that is to be able to see plants in their native habitat and understand what it is that they need and learn from those needs to tie back to the food sustainability piece. I think students can learn some of those lessons about what sustains plants in their native ecosystem and carry that forward into planting food crops. They can also, we hope that they develop a sense of appreciation for the natural environment and their surroundings. That does include both the park and their community, because Darrington, if you haven't visited, is an absolutely stunning place. And then we also hope to have them complete a stewardship project in the park. Now, this piece here with the native plant stewardship project, which we'll tell you a bit more about what that entails, is a little bit more focused on high school age students. So we are working with different age ranges here on the project. So we identified the needs, and then we immediately encountered some challenges. We have been working slowly on this project for the last year and a half. And of course, we all know what has been going on in the ongoing pandemic. There have been restrictions on gatherings, which meant it impacted our ability to meet in person with some of our partners and different organizations, as well as to have live programs with students. The pandemic put a little bit of a strain on resources. We had, our local educators doing everything that they could to meet the needs and the technology needs at the time, and we didn't want to further burden them by trying to force them into virtual field trips and things that we just couldn't quite implement in that very first year. And then nearly every organization has had a little bit of staff turnover, which just means the positive side of that is new voices have been willing to come forward and partner with us on this and share their ideas about how to carry it forward. But some of the older ideas and original steps to implement things have at times been in a start-stop mode. So not to belabor it, but we have encountered a few challenges, and we're just excited to see how this progresses moving forward. So we'd like to share some of our accomplishments because despite the pandemic, we have had some great forward progress on the project so far.
Yeah, I think we're really proud of what we have been able to accomplish, even with those challenges that Katie just mentioned. And I'm excited that I get to share a little bit about what we've already done with you all today. So starting with the greenhouse. So this greenhouse is really this fantastic space at the school where students can go for hands-on learning and science lessons. And this greenhouse was originally built in 1998 with a grant from the U.S. Forest Service. So over 20 plus years, there were some necessary repairs that were needed for this facility. And thanks to this WNPF grant, we're actually able to get some really needed work done on the greenhouse. You can see the list here, but we got a contractor in and really started improving this space. There are a few things that we still are hoping to do in the coming months to get this in tip-top shape for students, but we're really excited about the progress that's happened here already. As part of this, we also had a volunteer day with the Mission Continues, which is a group that helps connect veterans with volunteer projects in under-resourced communities. And so we had volunteers come out to the greenhouse and actually construct workbenches and garden beds. Half of the garden beds are for use at the school and in the greenhouse, and the other half have gone to the Soxhawtla land for a community garden to be built there. So perhaps one of the upsides of some of the delays with the pandemic is that we did have quite a bit of time to focus on the curriculum, so the actual lessons for this project. Specifically the 5th grade curriculum, which was developed by Park Service staff with input from our partners. And this curriculum really spans the entire school year and has multiple lessons, including a field trip into the park complex and trips to the greenhouse and actually experimenting with plants and planting food plants there. When we're creating an educational program, especially environmental education, a lot of times we turn to create a guiding or an essential question. So this is basically a deep or fundamental question that might not be easy to answer, but is a way for us to kind of guide student learning. So with this 5th grade curriculum, our guiding question is, how are plants essential to our community? And through this curriculum, we are also able to meet some of the next generation science standards, which, for lack of a better word, are the standard that we use for science education really across the whole country, and something that teachers are constantly looking for in the lessons and curriculums that they present. We're also able to get at some of the fundamental questions within the since time immemorial tribal sovereignty and Washington state curriculum as well. So once we got this curriculum developed, we actually were put in the position where we could start implementing it this fall with a return of students to school and full-on in-person classes. So this fall, Katie and I went to Darrington 5th grade classes and did the first lesson of this curriculum, which really was an introduction to the park, an introduction to this project as a whole. And we also used this time to introduce the idea of food systems, so students can start thinking about how we could develop those sustainably within the community. As part of this, we also set students up to begin composting within their classrooms. So we gave them the materials so that they could collect food waste every day at school and then take that out to the composting bins by the greenhouse. And we are really looking forward to, in the coming months, enhancing the composting system that we have there at the greenhouse. We're also able to actually bring the students into the North Cascades for a field trip, which was really exciting. It feels like for the last 2 months, it has rained every single day here. And somehow when the students came on their field trip, the skies cleared and we had a beautiful day. This grant was able to fund the transportation for students to come into the park. A lot of students, this was really special because this was their first time visiting the park complex. And we really had a great day learning about native plants, exploring the forest, and really starting to think about what we could learn from native plants and the plant communities here and apply that to our own food systems back in the community. One of the highlights of this trip is that it coincided with the run of pink salmon up the Skagit River. So we were able to go and actually view the salmon spawning right along the forest edge on the river there, which was just a fantastic way after a day of looking at plants to remember that everything is interconnected and this is a complex ecosystem, and the salmon and really all of the animals and the people play a role here. So this field trip really, I think, set a really good foundation for what's to come in the spring.
On that note, what will be coming up in the coming winter, spring months, starting in 2022, we will be continuing programming with the 5th grade students. The field trip and an initial classroom visit, that was really just laying the foundation. As Anna mentioned much earlier on, Glacier Peak Institute, their organization already has a pretty strong foundation in working with students in the school and utilizing spaces like the greenhouse. So we look forward to partnering with them on some additional lessons and activities, really getting our hands dirty with the composting process and starting to plant some food. I think that's where we're really going to be able to tie in some of the concepts that students learned on the field trip about native plants, what helps them to succeed, about the natural composting processes and decomposition processes that are going on that they got to witness in the park. Fall was really just a great time to be up in the park, like Anna said, on a nice sunny, rare sunny day in October. So we look forward to continuing that work. One thing that I didn't include as text on the slide, that's an important facet of this, is we're going to be making some improvements to the actual composting infrastructure at the school. So there was a photo just a couple slides back of a vermicomposting or a worm bin type composting system. And then there's also some other bins that are there on site at the greenhouse, but it has been identified as a need to improve both the scalability of the composting systems that exist and just bring them into better condition. So that's something that funds will go towards, is really helping us to improve the ways that students are helping to create some of the soil that will be used in the garden beds and in these projects. We also have hardly mentioned, other than at the beginning, our high school partners. There are some classes that begin in the spring semester with Darrington High School. We've identified a couple of teachers that we're excited to work with on planning and implementing some field trips and activities with high school age students, getting them engaged. Part of that work will be an ethno-botanical garden. So this was the stewardship project that I mentioned at the beginning. You may recognize this photo in the lower right here. This is the North Cascades Visitor Center. Behind it is the parking lot, and then the pathway to the right that goes kind of beyond the benches leads to the front entrance of the visitor center. So this is a space that is right between where people park and where they come in to enter the visitor center. And we'd like to utilize this space to have an ethnobotanical demonstration garden where we can both plant some native plants, working with our native plant nursery staff who have been helping to advise us and guide us on this project. We'll plant some native plants, and then we intend to include some labels of the plants that make this a little bit more of an interpretive experience and showcasing the native plants that have helped and sustained people on this landscape since time immemorial. We look forward to demonstrating that through this space. And then last but certainly not least, the food sustainability for our tribal partners. We look forward to working with them to plant food plants on tribal land. So students will help to start seedlings in the greenhouse, and we look forward to having a community planting day to bring that garden space to life, their new community garden to life. So that's just next spring, winter. But we also have some grander plans as well. I was not lying when I said this was a complex project. We have lots of things that we are aiming to accomplish, and we're excited about all the support that we have to do so. So of course, we intend to continue programming with our Darrington partners, so that will include evaluating what we were able to accomplish this school year for fall and next spring, making the adjustments that are needed and continue those relationships and those partnerships going forward. We also have some additional locations where we've identified for potential stewardship projects, so additional ethnobotanical planting projects. You may be familiar with, it's not too far from the visitor center, it's just near the New Halem Creek Campground, Loop C there, the Rock Shelter Trail. That trail had some improvements done to it several years ago, and we think that that would create kind of an ideal canvas, so to speak, for another ethnobotanical experience where visitors along the way can hike and look at native plants and get a sense of the broader, what it means to live and be sustained by this landscape on their way to this important cultural site. We also look forward to expanding community partnerships to include other gateway communities. We know that there are others who would like to engage with and make forward progress on their food sustainability goals and related goals. And so we look forward to expanding this beyond Darrington as well to some other local partners. And then advancing those goals of food sustainability, that's been kind of a common thread throughout everything. We really want to advance that within Darrington and in those other communities, as I mentioned. So that is, in a nutshell, that's the short version of all of the different work that we have done to date and what we look forward to, what we are excited to do going forward. We wanted to leave plenty of time though for questions and answers so that we can answer some of the important questions that you
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie and Anna. It's always so fun and exciting to just hear and see how projects in the parks have progressed throughout the year. Like Katie said, we're going to open it up to Q&A. So if you have any burning questions, feel free to enter them in the box below. I've got a few just to start us off here. Let's see. It sounds like the pandemic kind of put the project at a halt for a little bit. What has been your favorite part so far about the program that made it worth the wait and worth the time to pause? Anyone can answer, by the way.
I mean, I just think for me, it was getting the students into the national park and having that field trip there. I feel like that kind of reminds us of why we're doing this, to actually get students out learning about the natural environment. So for me, that was definitely the highlight. The salmon helped too. That was pretty cool.
I'm sure. How about you, Katie?
I would second that. Getting to see students face, well, this much of their faces engaging with us in person, live and in person. It felt almost surreal the first time that we were able to do that. It was so exciting. But I would also second that for our partners. We, of course, establishing some of these relationships and getting to know some of the really excellent people, the really dedicated teachers that we've worked with that care so much about the education of their students, our Glacier Peak Institute partners who are already doing so many things and learning from them. We've done all of that by phone and by video calls and through these virtual means like most of us have during the pandemic. So getting to actually start to see people in person was just a really exciting thing for me. To me, it makes a difference in our relationship building.
I agree. Joe asked, can you expand a bit more on the Ethno Botanical Garden?
Yes. So the first Ethno-Botanical Garden will be, and it's a little bit more of a demonstration space. I don't intend to use the word garden to imply that it will necessarily all be edible foodstuffs, but we know that the Native people who have stewarded this land since time immemorial have, of course, come up with great resources, great ways of using the amazing resources to sustain themselves on these lands. And we'd like to use that space to sort of pay homage to that, to showcase several of the plants that have been so critical to people living on this landscape and to the bounty that it's provided. So it will include planting some native plants, some that the students will be able to go out and collect seeds for and start their own plants, some of which, just because of the sometimes long growing processes of growing such plants, our native plant nursery will lend some assistance to, and students will learn about the processes and get to participate in stages of it, but won't necessarily plant from start to finish, transplanting into the garden, just because some of these take years.
Fair enough.
We're thankful for our very patient nursery staff who do this for a living. So we look forward to getting some of those plants on display there at that entryway to the visitor center, and then putting some signage, both identifying the plants in English with a little bit of information about several of them, kind of showcasing those uses, and then translations of those in some of the local tribal languages, because we think that preserving that knowledge, that local knowledge, is very critical as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. Hearing about this project makes me wish that I went on cool field trips like this as a kid. The next question we've got here, how many students have you worked with so far, and how many are you anticipating in the future coming years?
So I can say we've predominantly worked with the 5th grade students so far, and there are about 30 5th grade students at Darrington School. So we've seen them a couple of times now. I'm not sure about the high school students, what those numbers would be. Katie, do you have an idea?
It actually is a great question, and I don't know. I don't have a number off the top of my head for what those classes, what the enrollment is anticipated for those classes that begin in the spring. That is a great question, though. Sorry that I don't have an answer.
No, that's okay. More to come in the future.
Definitely.
Yeah. The next one, can anyone visit the plant nursery? And if so, where is it located in the park?
That is a great question. So our native plant nursery is located in Marble Mount. We have a compound with different park operations. It includes the Wilderness Information Center. So if you've ever stopped in the park there in Marble Mount to get a backcountry permit to go out on a trip, you would have stopped there at the Wilderness Information Center most likely. And near there, right next door, basically, is the native plant nursery with a greenhouse facility and some other outdoor spaces, including some improvements that they're working on right now for those spaces, some additional shaded areas to help foster some of the native plants that are used in a variety of revegetation projects. If there's a project that requires some sort of disturbance to the landscape, then they can go in and, or visitor impacts, disturbance on the landscape, they can go in and revegetate a space. The question about how to visit it is an excellent one. And I would say if you have an interest in visiting it, we can put you in touch with that staff that manages the greenhouse to kind of find out what might be possible for that. I know that they have hosted some student field trips and worked with local youth, and you know there may be ways to do that. You can reach out to us by calling either the general park line, and we'll put you in touch with them, or you can send us an email to there's a general email address that gets responded to regularly, which is NOCA, first two letters of North and Cascades, NOCA_information@mps.gov. And that is for that question and any other general questions about visiting the park. We can help put you in touch with the right people that way. Thank you, Casey, for checking.
Yeah, no problem. Sweet, that's very exciting. Gail was asking, is there any guidance on harvesting or proper food preparation?
Can you let us know, Gail, a little bit more about what you'd like to know? Maybe you can help me to best be able to answer your question.
Yeah, while that's happening, let me sift through a little bit more here. Let's see. Could you talk a little bit more about your relationship with the Sauk Seattle and how the park cultivates a relationship based on the community's needs?
Yeah, so our relationship with the Sauk Seattle, we've had a few different folks involved. So earlier when I mentioned that we have had some pandemic related challenges and that there's been turnover in every organization, I should say up front that there has been turnover in both of our organizations. So the initial conversations that began with a prior ranger that wrote this grant and started piecing this together with one person at the tribe who's no longer working there, you know, those relationships have turned over and there have been different people and different players involved. So we've been through a few different phases. But what I would say as a general response, what's important to us is to be attentive to the needs of the tribe. I think that when it was first identified as a priority for their health and social services department of the tribe to bring some sort of food sustainability and healthy food resources to the tribe, which is just outside of Darrington, just to the north of the town there. That was important to us to tie in with them since we knew we already wanted to do some similar work with the students. And we saw an opportunity to both meet their needs and educate some students and kind of bring this all together in a larger project. So we look forward to what the spring will bring us.
Nice. Yeah, I love the involvement with local tribes, and any project that we can get involved with them, that would be a dream. And if folks are interested more in other projects that we fund at North Cascades, including this one or other parks across our state, feel free to visit wnpf.org, and you can find more information about all of those projects. I'm going to slowly start wrapping it up here. If Gail does respond, I would love to pose that question one last time before we go. Oh, hey, here we go. Good timing. So she says, I live in the South Salish area, and food prep for Camas is important. Not sure if native plants in the Cascades harvest food in the national park may be restricted, also for keeping viability of the native plants. And the original question was, is there any guidance on harvesting or proper food preparation?
Thank you. That really does help clarify. So I've got a sense of what I'm answering better now. So the Spokane Tribe is interested in creating this community garden space, which the at least as it stood kind of originally, the vision for that included planting some more contemporary food crops that we would think of that would provide healthy food resources and food sustainability for the community, but also to be able to showcase some of the plants that have sustained people for centuries here. And so we do, can't speak to, we don't anticipate at this time that there will be projects where we go out and collect large quantities of native plants for harvesting and eating in that way that are actually in the park at this time. That wasn't necessarily something that we've factored into this or designed into the lessons and curriculums, but there could be opportunities through some of those community gardens there in Darrington and on the Sox Seattle, where we could certainly create something like that. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad we got that question answered. All right. Well, I'm going to start wrapping it up here. Like I said, thank you everyone for joining us for another wonderful virtual field trip with WNPF. If you feel so inclined to donate to this project or to other projects across all of our parks, we encourage you to step up and support us by donating today at wnpf.org. We are proud to announce that we've ended this fiscal year with raising more than $2.3 million for Mount Rainier, North Cascades, and Olympic National Parks. As our CEO, Lori Ward, has always said, this year, it has been our best year ever. Thank you so much to all of our donors for donating. Our next virtual field trip will be on December 8th with Kurt Repenshek, the founder of National Parks Traveler. They're one of our favorite sources for national park news, and we're so excited to have him on the program next month. It'll be an interview format similar to with Greg Dudgeon back in September. So look out on our website in the future coming weeks for that sign up. And you can visit wnpf.org/field-trips to sign up for future trips or watch recordings of our previous virtual field trips. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in December. Thanks.